Hi, so this is Mr. Max. I have a few questions that I quickly want to explain. It's on grade 7 mathematics. So, the first question that I have here is you are supposed to convert 5 over 8 as a decimal. Now, there are many ways that you can do this. I have a different method. So, what I want you to look at is look at the denominator. The denominator is the same as 4 times 2. And something else you should remember 5 over 8, I can write it as 1 over 8 times 5 over 1. It's actually the same thing. I hope you're with me, okay? Because I want to make the denominator to be a power of 10 so that it's easier for me to be able to divide. So powers of 10 are numbers like 10 or 100 or 10 cubed, which is nothing but 1,000. So if my denominators are 10 or 100 or 1,000, it's easier to convert. Okay, so I can split the fraction like this. This fraction can also be split as, if you look nicely, 1 over 4 times 5 over 2. Because the 4 is under here. So this is the same as saying 1 times 5. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I want you to be able to look at this as two fractions, but it actually becomes 1. Now, it is easier, supposed to be, for you to know that I can write the denominator here as a power of 10 because 4 times 25 will give me 100. This should be actually be a little bit straightforward. And 2 can be a power of 10 by multiplying 2 times 5, which will give me 10. Are you with me? And then 5 times 5 on top there will give me 25. All right, so we are nearly there. So remember, one of the rules of multiplication is that you are supposed to multiply the numerator with the numerator and the denominator with the denominator. So basically, it's 25 times 25 over 100 times 10. Again, I don't know if how long it will take you to know that 25 times 25 is equal to 625. Okay, I'll show you a shorter way how you can also work that out. Right, as we are here, it should be a very easy for you to be able to write this as a decimal because now you just move that comma 3 places. So this is the answer I'm looking for. But there's something that might be a little bit tricky, and I'll show that a little bit later. Okay, how do you multiply 25 times 25, for example, in order for you to get to that question? Okay, so the next one is you are supposed to convert 3 over 7 to a decimal, and then you go ahead and give this answer of yours to 3 decimal places. So it means that this decimal probably won't stop. Right, so if you're in grade 7, I assume that you are probably used to long division. Okay, so I will use long division and I will just stop at 3 places. Okay, but anyway, 7 cannot go into 3, so we borrow 0 there, and 7 goes into 30. Well, that's going to be 4 times, and when you multiply 7 times 4, you get 28. And obviously, when you subtract the 28 from that, you get 2. Okay, so 7 cannot go into 2. So what you then do is you go and borrow a 0. And 7 goes into 20. Well, it goes there 2 times. And 2 times 7 gives you 14. And again, when you subtract, you're going to get 6. So 7 cannot go into 6, so you then have to go again and borrow. So 7 goes into 60, and here you have to be careful, you should know that, well, it goes there 8 times, okay? Because 7 times 8 is 56. So when you multiply 7 times 8, you get 56. And when you subtract, you get 4. But then you realize later that 7 doesn't go into 4 again. Okay, so when you bring down a 0, because this has to end somewhere now, okay? I'm just gonna go one more stage. 7 goes into 40, well, it goes there 5 times. And if you multiply 5 times 7, you get 35. So there's always going to be something left, and that's 5. So this continues and continues, but they say you should give your answer to 3 decimal places. So the answer would then be, you see, the reason why I went up to 4 decimal places, because what I have is I have 0.4285 and so on. But we are supposed to give our answer to 3 decimal places. And because we are giving our answer to 3 decimal places, the first place is the 4, the second is the 2, and that is the third. So this 5 will determine whether we round up. So again, this answer becomes 0.429. Okay, the first decimal place is the 4. So this is then correct to 3 decimal places. So there are other ways, but your long division is the method that you should use here to be able to assist you to arrive at those questions. Question 3 is a little bit straightforward because you're supposed to convert to a decimal. And now here's the thing, when you convert this to a decimal, you look at, it's already a power of 10, so you have got 3 zeros there. So what you'll do is you're simply going to move the 3,705, you're going to divide it by, obviously, by 1,000. So it's like you're going to move that comma 3 places, okay? So it will move from here. So it's 1, 2, 3, okay? And then you have your 0,375. So this is a straightforward answer. Okay, this is also what we refer to as a terminating decimal. It ends, okay? It ends. The other one that we have done doesn't end, and it keeps on going. That is why we were supposed to give our answer there as a rounded number. Right, so that 0.375, we are going to have to take the same thing, and we are supposed to write it as a percentage. Now, a long way to do that would be, if you look at your 375, and it's over 1,000, the question is, what is this over 100? Because percent is out of 100. Think of this as 1 and 2 zeros. Now, in order for me to do that, I'll probably have to look at if I divide here by 10. Okay, because if you divide 1,000 divide by 10, guess what you're gonna get? You're gonna get nothing but 100. So which is my 100 here. So what you do under, you should also do on top. So you're going to divide that on top there by 10. And 375 divided by 10, so the comma will just move once, okay? So the comma will move once, so the number becomes smaller. So you expect to have something like 37,5. So this is now 37,5. Now, everything out of 100 can be written as a percentage, 37.5. Then you just use the notation, and that is the answer that you have there. Okay, so there are other methods you can do and use as well. Another way that you can perhaps go about this problem is you can simply do, and I don't want to confuse you here, all right, but you can simply say, wait a minute, is it not better to take 375 over 1,000 and then you multiply, because you are changing it to a percent, and when you change something to a percent, just multiply it with 100 and then attach the percentage notation. So once you do that, and I hope at this level you are aware of how cross multiplication works. Basically, I am canceling here by dividing by 10. And I can still divide by another 10, so I'm dividing by 100. So what I have left is 375 over 10. Can you see that? And then this gives you nothing but 37.5. And then you go ahead then and then you include that in order for you to have exactly the same answer. So it's totally up to you which method you prefer. This, I just added these few questions so that at least maybe you can follow. Now, how you multiply 123 times 6, for example, and I'm looking here at mental because you're not supposed to use a calculator. And one of the things that you always need to realize is think of this number. There are many ways, as I said. Think of this number as 6 times, this is 100, plus 20, plus 3. Because that's what 123 is equal to. I hope you follow. So what we're going to do is we're going to borrow a little something. So we're going to multiply 6 times 100. So that is 600. Then you multiply the 6 with the 20, right? You know that 6 times 2 is 12. So 6 times 20 is 120. And then you're going to multiply 6 times 3. And 6 times 3 is very easy. It's 18. So the answer should be 600 plus 120, which is 720. Okay? Plus 18. So your final answer should be 600. Maybe I'll write it like this so that it's easier for you to arrive at your answer. Is 738. Bottom line is, this is one of the ways you can do that. There are other methods as well. When I multiply a number by 6, I know that 6 is nothing but 2 times 3. So you can also say, wait a minute, I can actually say, let this number 6 become something like 2 times 3, because that is what this is actually equal to. Then you can multiply, you can double this answer. So 123 times 2 is easy for you to calculate. Or you can multiply 123 times 3. Totally up to you. Okay? Since I know that doubling a number is much easy. So why don't you say 123, then you multiply this by 3, and the answer, you're going to double it. So once you are here, I'm going to use exactly the same concept like I use in this condition. Just think of this as 3 times, you have 100 plus 20 plus 3. So I'm going to double that answer later. Now, when you multiply out, remember you are trying to work from a certain perspective. So you're going to say 3 times 100, that is 300. Then you say 3 times 20. Now remember that's going to be 60. And then you have 3 times 3, which is 9. Okay, so I'm going to double that answer. So once you add this, you get 369. So when you double 369, okay, you should be able to arrive at exactly the same answer, which is 738. So what I'm saying, it should be easy for you to multiply something by 2, okay, but just taking that answer and doubling it. That's 369 plus 369. Right, I have a little catch here when you multiply a number by 5. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to take note that 5 is nothing, the number 5 is nothing but half of 10. I hope everybody understands that. So this is what you're going to do. You're going to take 614 and you multiply the answer by 10. And once you have your answer, you divide your answer by 2. Because multiplying by 10 is just adding a 0 at the final answer. And then now you are going to divide that answer by 2. So you find half of 6,140. So half of 6,000 is 3,000. Half of 100 is 50. Half of 40, it's 20. So the final answer, and I hope you get it, is 3,070. Okay? So when you multiply any number by 5, multiply the number by 10, and then divide your answer by 2. Okay? It should be very easy for you to do that. Okay, so there was a little sneeze right there. So when you are doing this one, I want you to realize something. You always have two answers. So you're going to say, take 4 times 6, which should give you 24. Now, what I want you to take note here, that when you multiply numbers of this sort, and I will do others, okay, so that you can know what is it that I'm doing, in order for me to arrive at this answer step by step, I'm going to write one more. So I'm going to write something like, let's say 15 times 16, or let's say something like 42 times 48. Okay, even if I bring in something like 51 times 59. So I want you to have a look at these questions, and I want you to realize something. First, the first digits here are both the same. These are tens, these are the same, you can see, fours, these are fives. That's the first condition. The next thing I want you to realize is that the other last two digits, all right, this one here and this one here, add up to 10. This one here and this one here add up to 10. So let me just quickly change, and I make this one a 4 because it should also add up to a 10. So this is 4. So when you look at those two last digits, then you realize, wait a minute, these two last digits here, they add up to 10. The same like what I had here. This 4 and this 6, they add up to 10. And then I'm going to first do those. So the last two answers, I can actually complete. So you find those last two answers by taking these two numbers at the end. You say 4 times 6, and 4 times 6 is 24. When you do these two here, you say 2 times 8, and 2 times 8 is nothing but 16. When you do this one here, it's 1 times 9, so the answer should be 0, 9. So the only other value that you're looking for is what comes in front here. So you're always going to take the unit, like the tens, in this case is 10, you always multiply it by one more, so it's 1 times 2, which gives you 2 here. And this is 4, so you'll be saying 4 times 5, and then you get your 20 there. Here you have 5, so you multiply 5 times 6, and then you get 5 times 6 is 30. And these are the answers when you are looking at multiplying these numbers together. Okay? So you can go ahead and you can test a few for two-digit numbers that are containing that. Right, so I have one here that I would hope you can do. So see if you arrive at the same answer like what I did there.